Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive with us. Today, we are going to be tackling a concept that is really crucial in the world of SAFe, but to be honest with you, it's relevant even if SAFe isn't really your thing.
Right.
We're diving deep into value streams.
And that's a great place to start because while it's a core element of SAFe, the idea of a value stream is much broader than just software development.
I see.
It's really a way of thinking about how any organization creates and delivers value.
So instead of just assuming things magically appear, we're going behind the scenes to understand that entire journey.
Precisely. Imagine you could map out every single step it takes for, say, your new phone to exist from that initial brainstorming session where someone says, hey, wouldn't it be cool if all the way to the moment you unbox it and power it on for the first time?
I like it.
That's the power of a value stream.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is so important. It's not just about the making of something. It's about everything that goes into making it valuable for the customer.
Right.
So how do we even begin to define what a value stream looks like within an organization?
Well, in the SAFe world, we're not just throwing darts at a board.
Right.
There's a structured approach called the Value Stream Identification Workshop, or VSI for short. It's about bringing together people from all parts of the organization, from the folks dreaming up new features to the ones supporting customers who are actually using the product.
So it's not some executive making decisions in a vacuum.
Absolutely.
It's a collaborative effort.
Absolutely. And this workshop isn't just a bunch of people sitting around a table.
Right.
They're using specific techniques to really dissect the process.
Okay.
One of those is customer journey mapping, which is exactly what it sounds like.
Wow.
We walk through every interaction a customer has from the moment they become aware of the product or service.
So we're not just talking about the features themselves.
Right.
We're talking about the entire experience. Like, even if the product is amazing, but the customer support is terrible, that's part of the value stream we need to look at.
You got it. And while we're walking through that customer journey, we're also doing process mapping. This means documenting every handoff, every decision point.
Wow.
Every step in the internal process.
Okay.
It can get pretty detailed.
I bet. And I imagine that's where data comes into play.
Definitely. We use data analysis to pinpoint where things are flowing smoothly and where the bottlenecks are hiding. Maybe the particular handoff between teams always creates delays. Or maybe there's a process that could be automated. This data helps us see the reality of the situation.
So you have all these people, these maps, this data. Sounds like the perfect recipe for some intense brainstorming sessions.
Oh, for sure. That's where the innovation happens. The VSI workshop encourages people to challenge assumptions, come up with new ways of doing things, and really think outside the box.
I like it.
And here's the key. It's an ongoing process. The value stream map isn't set in stone. It evolves as the organization learns and adapts.
That makes a lot of sense. You need that flexibility to keep up with the ever-changing world. But let's talk about decision-making here. We have all this input. But who ultimately decides how these value streams take shape?
Well, there's usually a designated value stream architect who guides the process using their expertise to bring all pieces together. But the final call often rests with senior leadership. They need to ensure that the chosen structure aligns with the organization's strategic goals.
So it's kind of like an architect designing a building.
That's a great analogy.
They create the blueprints. But the owner ultimately decides whether to build it.
The architect brings the technical expertise and understanding of how all the systems need to work together. But the owner provides the vision and makes the final call based on budget, timeline, and overall business objectives.
Okay, this is all starting to click, but I think the big question on everyone's mind is, why go through all this trouble?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
What are the real tangible benefits of mapping out value streams?
And I promise it's not just some theoretical exercise. When done right, understanding your value streams can lead to some pretty incredible outcomes. One of the most immediate benefits is improved flow.
Flow. What does that mean in a practical sense?
Think of it like a highway. If you can identify and remove bottlenecks, like those construction zones that always seem to cause traffic jams, you can keep things moving smoothly.
Yeah.
Well-defined value streams help you identify and eliminate those organizational bottlenecks, whether they're caused by handoffs approvals or simply inefficient processes.
So we're talking about making things faster, smoother, more efficient.
Exactly. And it's not just about speed.
Yeah, okay.
When you have a clear understanding of the entire value stream, you naturally start to break down silos between teams.
I see.
Suddenly, everyone is working together towards a shared goal, delivering value to the customer.
That's got to be a huge morale booster.
Absolutely.
No more finger pointing or departments working in isolation.
Yeah.
It's a true team effort.
Absolutely. And all of this leads to faster time to market.
Okay.
When you can get that new feature or product into the hands of customers more quickly, you gain a competitive edge.
Makes sense.
And it's not just about speed, it's about delivering a high-quality product that truly meets customer needs. Value streams help you catch and fix issues early on before they become major problems.
That's like catching a typo before printing 1,000 copies of a report.
Precisely. And let's not forget about agility.
Right.
In today's fast-paced world, organizations need to be able to adapt to change quickly. Value streams give you that flexibility by providing a clear framework for understanding how changes will impact the entire system.
So it's like having a roadmap that helps you navigate through unexpected detours.
Exactly. Instead of reacting blindly, you can assess the situation, make informed decisions, and keep moving towards your destination.
This is all starting to sound like a recipe for success.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away, let's zoom out a bit and
and
see how value streams fit into the grand scheme of the Scaled Agile Framework.
Well, think of value streams as the foundation upon which the entire safe house is built. They provide the context for all the other elements, like Agile release trains or RTs.
Okay, so how do RTs and value streams connect?
Think of it this way. If the value stream is the map, then the RT is the vehicle you use to travel along that map.
Okay, I like that analogy. So each art would be focused on delivering value for a specific customer group guided by the overall value stream map.
Exactly. And just like you wouldn't use a sports car to haul a trailer. You wouldn't expect an RT to be effective if it's not aligned.
Makes sense.
With a well-defined value stream.
This is all making so much sense.
Good.
But what about companies that have multiple product lines targeting different types of customers? Would they have multiple value streams?
That's a great question, and you're absolutely right. In those cases, you would indeed have multiple value streams, each tailored to a specific product line or customer group. For example, a clothing company might have separate value streams for men's, women's, and children's clothing lines.
So each line would have its own unique journey from design to production to delivery and its own unique customer experience.
Precisely, and this allows the organization to be more responsive to the specific needs and preferences of each customer segment.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's be realistic, in any organization there are going to be dependencies between different teams and departments. How do we navigate this inevitable web of interconnectedness?
You're hitting on a crucial point.
We're talking about value streams.
Dependencies are a fact of life. And ignoring them can derail even the best laid plans. That's why it's so important to address them proactively. And there are a few key strategies for doing just that.
Okay, let's hear them. How do we untangle this web of dependencies?
Well, first and foremost, you need to foster cross-value stream collaboration. It's not enough for each value stream to operate in isolation. You need to create channels for communication and collaboration between teams, even if they're working on different products or services.
So it's about breaking down those silos even further, not just within a value stream, but between them as well.
Think of it like a team of chefs in a busy kitchen. They each have their specialty, but they need to work together seamlessly to create a culinary masterpiece.
I love that analogy. It's sort of one working in sync toward a common goal.
And it's like a map helps you navigate a complex city. Dependency mapping is essential. You need to clearly identify and document all the connections between different value streams.
I see.
Who needs what from whom? When do they need it? What happens if there's a delay? Having this information readily available can help you anticipate potential roadblocks and mitigate risks.
So it's like having a giant spiderweb diagram showing all the interconnected pieces.
Exactly. It might seem daunting at first, but trust me, the clarity it provides is invaluable. And once you have that map, you can start prioritizing work more effectively.
Yeah.
If you know that a particular task has dependencies on other teams, you can adjust your schedule accordingly and avoid unnecessary delays.
This is all incredibly insightful, and I'm already starting to see how powerful this concept can be.
Yeah.
But we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, and I want to make sure we have enough time to really explore those dependencies and how to manage them effectively.
You're right, those dependencies are a crucial piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And we'll dive into them in much more detail in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
So if you're ready to untangle that web and discover even more strategies for optimizing your value streams, stay tuned for part 2.
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after a quick break. Welcome back to our deep dive into value streams. Right before the break, we were talking about how crucial it is to understand dependencies between teams and even between different value streams within an organization.
And you know, sometimes those dependencies can feel like a giant knot.
Right.
You just can't seem to untangle.
Yeah.
But the good news is that there are proven ways to manage them.
Okay.
So they don't sabotage your efforts to deliver value.
Okay, so let's dive right in. You mentioned dependency mapping earlier.
Yeah.
What are some specific ways we can use that map to actually improve things?
Well, one of the simplest but most effective things you can do is use the map to visualize potential bottlenecks. If you see that 5 different value streams all rely on the same team for a specific step, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
It might be time to consider cross-training or even restructuring teams to create more flexibility.
So it's not just about identifying the dependency, it's about taking action.
Exactly. A map is only useful if you use it to navigate
on what you learn.
And speaking of navigation, another key strategy is prioritization.
Okay.
Let's face it, you can't always eliminate every dependency.
Right.
Sometimes you just have to work with what you've got.
Yeah.
But that's where a clear understanding of priorities comes in.
So if you know that a particular task is critical for multiple value streams,
you got it.
You can make sure it gets the attention and resources it needs.
It's about making strategic decisions based on the bigger picture. And that brings us to one of my favorite tools, lean portfolio management.
Okay, I've heard that term thrown around, but to be honest, I'm a little fuzzy on what it actually means in practice.
Think of lean portfolio management as the air traffic control tower for your entire organization. It's about aligning all your value streams with the overall strategic objectives. This means setting priorities, managing budgets, and making sure that everyone is working on the right things at the right time.
So it's kind of like an orchestra conductor.
That's a good way to put it.
Making sure all the instruments are playing in harmony to create a beautiful symphony.
And when it comes to managing dependencies, lean portfolio management helps you identify potential conflicts early on.
I see.
For example, if 2 value streams are both planning to release major updates at the same time and they both rely on the same marketing team, that's a recipe for disaster.
Unless you have a really good project manager who can juggle chainsaws
maybe
while riding a unicycle.
But even the best project manager can't work miracles. That's why it's crucial to have a system in place to surface those dependencies and make informed decisions about how to manage them.
This all makes so much sense.
Good.
But I'm wondering, how do you get everyone on board with this new way of thinking?
You're absolutely right. It is a significant shift.
It seems like a big shift for most organizations.
And it all starts with leadership.
Okay.
If the people at the top aren't fully committed to the value stream mindset, it's going to be an uphill battle. They need to be the champions, the evangelists who explain why this is so important for the organization's success.
So it's not just about implementing new processes and tools.
It's
about changing the culture.
And that culture change needs to permeate every level of the organization. You need to empower teams to identify and solve problems, to collaborate across boundaries, and to constantly look for ways to improve the flow of value.
That sounds amazing, but also kind of idealistic. How do you make that happen in the real world, where people are busy and often resistant to change?
One of the most effective ways is to start small.
Okay.
Don't try to boil the ocean. Identify a single value stream that's important to the business.
Yeah.
And focus on mapping it out and improving it. Once you've demonstrated success with one value stream, you can then start to scale your efforts to other parts of the organization.
So it's like building a prototype, proving that it works.
Exactly.
And then gradually expanding it.
And remember, change doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It's a journey, and there will be bumps along the way.
Yeah.
But with persistent leadership, clear communication, and a willingness to experiment and learn, you can transform your organization into a value-driven powerhouse.
I love that. But let's not forget about waste. We talked about it briefly earlier.
You're absolutely right.
But I think it's worth revisiting now that we have a better understanding of the whole value stream picture.
Waste is the silent killer of efficiency, and it can lurk in the shadows of even the most well-intentioned processes.
So what are some common types of waste that we should be on the lookout for?
Well, there are 7 classic types of waste, often referred to as the 7 deadly sins in lean thinking. They are transportation, moving things around unnecessarily, inventory, having more stuff than you need, whether it's physical goods or digital information, motion unnecessary, movement of people or equipment, waiting people or processes sitting idle, waiting for something to happen, overproduction, making more than is needed or making it too early, overprocessing, doing more work than is necessary to achieve the desired outcome, and defects, errors, or flaws that require rework or scrap.
Okay, I can definitely see how those would slow things down and add unnecessary costs, but how do you actually identify and eliminate?
One of the most powerful tools is value stream mapping. Remember that detailed map we talked about earlier?
Yeah. Well, when you add data to that map, you start to see where the wastes are hiding.
Like how long each step takes, how many people are involved, and how much it costs.
Exactly. And by analyzing that data, you can pinpoint the areas that are ripe for improvement. Maybe you discover that a particular approval process takes 3 days longer than it needs to. Or maybe you find that you're generating a ton of reports that nobody actually reads. These are all opportunities to streamline your processes and eliminate waste.
So it's like using a magnifying glass to zoom in on the problem areas.
That's a great analogy. And once you've identified the waste, you can start brainstorming ways to eliminate it. Maybe you can automate a manual process. Maybe you can eliminate unnecessary steps. Or maybe you can simply improve communication between teams.
I love that there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Absolutely.
It's about finding what works best for each specific situation.
And it's important to remember that this is an ongoing process. You don't just map your value stream once and call it a day. You need to continuously monitor it. Look for new areas of waste and make adjustments as needed.
So it's like a garden. You need to constantly weed and prune.
That's a perfect analogy.
To keep it healthy and thriving.
And just like a garden, the more you tend to your value streams, the more fruitful they will become.
This has been another incredibly informative segment.
Good.
But I'm already sensing that there's more to this story. There's something about the way you're talking about waste that makes me think it's not just a practical problem, it's almost a philosophical one.
You're picking up on something really important. And we're going to explore that deeper connection between waste and value in the final part of our deep dive. Because when you truly understand the nature of waste, it changes the way you see everything.
Intriguing. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to have my perspective shifted. So if you want to join us on this final leg of the journey, make sure to stick around for part 3 of our deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive on value streams. We've journeyed through the ins and outs of mapping them, identifying those pesky dependencies, and even started to tackle the concept of waste. But you hinted that there's a deeper level to this, right?
Absolutely. When we talk about eliminating waste, it's not just about being more efficient or saving money. It's about a fundamental shift in perspective.
I'm intrigued. How so?
Think about it this way. In a traditional organization, the focus is often on keeping everyone busy, on churning out as much output as possible. But what if a lot of that output isn't actually adding value to the customer?
You're saying it's like a hamster wheel, lots of activity, but not necessarily going anywhere meaningful.
Exactly. And that's where the concept of value becomes so crucial. When you view your organization through the lens of a value stream, you start to ask a different set of questions. It's not just how much can we produce, but what activities truly contribute to creating value for the customer.
So it's about being intentional, about making sure that every step in the process has a purpose,
Precisely. And that's where the idea of eliminating waste takes on a whole new meaning.
Okay.
It's not just about cutting costs or speeding things up. It's about creating a laser focus on what truly matters to the customer.
This is starting to feel almost philosophical, like a whole new way of seeing the world.
It is, and it can have a profound impact on how you approach your work.
Wow.
No matter what industry you're in or what role you play, think about a chef in a restaurant.
Okay, I'm following.
If that chef is simply focused on churning out as many dishes as possible, they might cut corners, sacrifice quality, or even create dishes that nobody wants to order.
Lots of food, but not necessarily a satisfying dining experience.
Right. But a chef who understands the value stream, who sees the whole picture, from sourcing ingredients to the moment a customer takes their first bite, is going to approach their work very differently.
I see.
They'll focus on using the freshest ingredients, crafting each dish with care, and creating a menu that delights their patrons.
So it's not just about doing things faster or cheaper, it's about doing them better.
Exactly. It's about aligning your efforts with what truly creates value.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you unlock a whole new level of efficiency, creativity, and customer satisfaction.
This is incredibly insightful. I feel like I'm starting to see the world through a new lens.
Good.
But let's be honest, changing an entire organization's mindset is no easy feat. What advice would you give to leaders who are trying to embrace this value-driven approach?
That's a great question, and you're right, it's not something that happens overnight. It requires a conscious effort and a commitment to continuous improvement.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is to lead by example.
Okay.
Leaders need to embody the values they want to see in their organization.
So walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Precisely. This means being open to new ideas, being willing to challenge the status quo, and being relentless in the pursuit of creating value for the customer. And it also means empowering their teams to do the same.
Give them the tools and the autonomy to identify waste.
Exactly.
To experiment with new approaches and to constantly look for ways to improve.
It's about creating a culture where everyone feels ownership of the value stream.
Yeah.
And is invested in its success.
This has been an incredible deep dive, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of this topic.
I agree.
But I think you've given us a lot to think about, both on a practical level and on a more philosophical one.
And I encourage everyone listening to keep exploring, to keep asking those tough questions, and to never stop looking for ways to create more value in the world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So what's our final takeaway for today?
The key takeaway is this. Understanding value streams is not just about optimizing processes or eliminating waste. It's about transforming your entire mindset, about aligning your efforts with what truly matters to the customer. And when you do that, the possibilities are endless.
Well said. And on that note, I want to thank you, our amazing expert, for guiding us through this fascinating topic.
It's been my pleasure, and I want to thank all of you for joining us on this journey.
We hope you found it valuable and insightful. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.